All right. Welcome, everyone, to the 2-minute tax return review. I also like to call it how to touch source documents only once and share many and be insanely productive. So with that in mind, I'd like to turn it directly over to Rob Smith and have him get started.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Well, that's basically me, but let's keep moving forward. Okay, so what do I mean by the 2-minute tax return? Okay, because it's kind of like I'm throwing that out there. I'm like, is it really possible? Probably not 2 minutes, but here's really what I'm trying to basically create. I'm trying to create a system whose main goal is to minimize the amount of time that you, the preparer, or you, the reviewer, are going to spend on the tax return, because your time is the most valuable. You don't have enough of it. So everything that I'm going to be talking about here is to really minimize the amount of time that you actually have to spend on the tax return without sacrificing quality. Okay. So to be able to achieve this goal, we're going to have to focus on two things. Okay. The first thing is kind of obvious. I'm going to lay everything out on a platter. So when it comes to you, you can just crank right through it and have everything that you need either on one page or one click away. You have to spend zero time searching for things. It's laid out in perfect order. So that's the first thing that we're going to focus on. The second thing is that we need to transfer as much knowledge as probably in your head or in other, experienced staff heads to the entire firm. Because if you could basically take, how many times have you asked yourself, man, if I could just duplicate myself, if I could just take what's in my head and give it to my staff, could you imagine? Well, I don't know if I would want a firm full of me running around, but all the knowledge that I have about the tax return software or tax law or the clients, if I could just pull that out, kind of like Harry Potter, he pulls out the memory and puts it into somebody else, that would be amazing. And that's really what we're trying to basically do, is lay everything out on a platter and take everything in your head and be able to give it to everybody else. And if you can achieve those two things, it will be a 2-minute tax return. Okay. So really, what's stopping this 2-minute tax return or this idea of it? Okay, well, first of all, staff turnover is getting higher and higher. Again, it's tougher and tougher to keep staff. I was talking to somebody in rural America, and their best employees are getting picked off by the big cities. Okay, so just the fact that you live somewhere and there's not a lot of job opportunities, before that was able to keep employees, but now with the internet, anybody can go anywhere. So it's tougher and tougher to keep staff turnover. And what happens is can't find the experienced staff, but more importantly, all that acquired knowledge that people have built up in their heads, whether it's tax law, how to use the software, more importantly, because all of us in the room, we can all do tax returns. We can all use the software, but I know nothing about your clients and you know nothing about my clients. And that takes time to learn. So as all that knowledge gets built up in people's heads and they walk out the door, when you think about it, they're stealing the knowledge that took you years to put into their head. And then now you got to start over with a fresh vessel. Okay. Second of all, we've got way too many places to look. Back in the day, everything was in the file room in a manila folder. It was right there. It was a piece of cake. Now stuff's coming in from all over, whether it's email or text or portals. We're looking in many, many different places. Email attachments is our DMS. It's stuff scattered everywhere. So it's coming in from many different places and it's being deposited in many different places. And it's also spread out amongst our staff. Email, well, is it in my inbox or is it your inbox? Okay, where is it? There's too many. It's just spread everywhere. It's complete and utter chaos. Okay. And then lastly, the tax prep is getting pushed back further and further. Okay, it seems like tax season never ends. By the time it finally ends, guess what? We've got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and it's starting back up again. It's crazy. We're not even getting a break. Because of that, we've not been able to focus on working on our business because we've been so busy working in it. And if you never work on your business, you're going to stay in that rat reel and never get ahead. So now's the time you got to stop and focus on your business. Okay. So how are we going to get around this? Well, I've got a couple workarounds that if you follow these, I think it's going to work and we're going to be able to mitigate a lot of these roadblocks. First of all, there's this idea of getting things done. Okay. Great book. You don't need to read it. Here's pretty much it in a nutshell. Capture every open loop, capture every ingredient that you need and put it in one location. So it's like baking a cake. If you're going to bake a cake, which the ideal thing to do, if you watch all cooking shows, they put everything in nice little ramekins. Glad I'm not the one doing all the dishes. Got a lot of ramekins. but they're putting everything that they need right there. So when they're ready to go, all they got to do is basically grab the ingredient that they need and then basically use it. It's a piece of cake. So every piece of information that you need to do the tax return, that information is going to come in a lot of different forms. Okay, but you need every piece in one place. 2, now this is the one that's really from left field. Okay, for 40 years, we've been trying to manage documents. Okay, that's basically when documents first started, 1982. That's when kind of the Excel file and not Excel, but Lotus and everything like that, it all started right about then. So for 40 years, we've been trying to figure out how to manage documents. It's gotten us nowhere. Not only has it gotten us nowhere, we've actually fallen further behind, because not only have documents contend with, we have apps and programs and stuff scattered. So we have stuff exploding everywhere. Okay, so stop trying to manage documents and start to manage information. And I'm going to explain what that means in some upcoming slides, but I want you to start managing information. Okay, because at the end of the day, you don't need the document, you don't need the email, you don't need the PDF, you need what's inside that. Okay. And then lastly, you need to convert all this information chaos that's built up because everything's scattered and everything like that, and actually turn it into documented knowledge. You need to slow down, write down what's in your head, so the next person that comes along has that knowledge. Do not tell them mouth to mouth, head to head. That's dust in the wind. That's going to walk out the door. Knowledge is not in your brain. Knowledge is written down for anybody to use. Okay, so we need to embed that knowledge into our workflows, and be able to do it in our workflows. We're going to have to embed it into our work papers. And that's what we're going to focus on, those 3 fundamental steps. It's really not that hard. Okay, so let's think about capturing all the open loops. Back in the good old days, everything was in the red weld. If some other, we'd get a new document, we'd put it in the red weld until we're ready to work on it. We got a phone call or got some random information, we'd grab out the green sheet of paper, write on it, put it in the red weld. Everything was in one place. It was in that red weld. That red weld was my getting things done basket. It was a piece of cake. Yeah, I had to go to the file room and grab it, bring it back out. But guess what? It was all there. It wasn't chaotic. We worked hard, but it wasn't chaotic. Think about it. We were working, nowadays it's chaos, mental energy. Back then it was just physical. Okay. And sometimes I don't know which is better. Okay. But today, what have all these problems caused? Information comes in, once again, many methods, many formats, and it's scattered everywhere. Okay. So what you're going to need to do, okay, is you need to find one funnel. Okay. This is really important. You've got to find one funnel. So when every piece of information comes in required to do the tax return, it's going to go into that one place, whether it's a document, whether it's a message from the client, whether it's a phone call, whether it's just something in your head that you knew, whether it's an idea that you have watching a CPE. You need to be able to capture all those little nuggets of information and store them in one place, okay? And stop limiting how it's coming in, because the less you limit people coming in, the less work you have to do to actually consolidate and put it to the one thing. Because if it comes into the right place in the first place, guess what? Half your work's already done. Okay. So in this demo, I'm going to be using a program called Lisio. Okay. If you use Lisio, great. You don't, that's okay. But I'm going to be demonstrating this idea of one funnel using Lisio. But what you need to do, the key here is you need to find your one funnel and make sure all the information is consolidated in one place. Okay. Because that's the key to it. One place. Okay. Then manage information on documents. Because what do you really, really, really need? Like I said before, documents are delivery boxes. Their contents are what's valuable. When you get something from Amazon, which I don't because shop local, but when you get stuff from Amazon or whatever, and it comes to your front door, do you keep the stuff in the box? No, you don't. You open the box, you take out what's in the box, you put it where it belongs, and you throw the box away. The box is not what's important. Well, if you're 2 years, my kids, when they were 1 and 2, they seemed to enjoy the box more than what was actually in the box, but we're all adults, okay? So the box is not what's valuable. The PDF is not what's valuable. The email is not what you need. It's what's in the email. And that's something hard to get over because we've been trained that keep the email, keep the PDF. We have to break that habit. And what you do, when you start looking inside the box at the information, then it all breaks open because we're going to keep the item and get rid of the box. Okay. Remember, PDFs, emails, or documents, their contents are the information. That's what you need. Remember, information does not come in an 8.5 by 11 box. Every piece of information comes at a different size. You don't need all that extra stuff. All you need is just the information right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to extract just the information that we need and drop it right where it belongs and get rid of all the other garbage. Okay, so we're going to manage information, not documents. And lastly, embed your know-how. The best way to do this is kind of tell my story. I bought my firm in 1998. Okay, and then my entire life cycle basically pretty much followed Predictable Success by Liz McConnell. Great book, and it's pretty true. This is pretty, this is how most firms basically go, whether it's an accounting firm or another firm. Okay, when I first bought it, it was hard. There were no good processes. It was a struggle. We weren't charging enough. Okay, it was hard in the beginning, but once we broke through and made it efficient, and we grew pretty rapidly, and everything was going okay. But I was doing everything. It was crazy. So even though we were more successful, it was still a struggle. So then what I did was I merged my firm in with a bunch of other people, because I was doing audit, I was doing taxes, I was doing consulting, I was doing bookkeeping, I was doing everything. It was way too crazy. So I merged my firm in so I could specialize just on the QuickBooks and basically the tax stuff and get rid of the audit and a bunch of stuff I didn't like. Okay, it was fun, man. We were flying, we were growing. It was great. Okay, making a lot of money. Times were good. It really was. It was really good. But then guess what? We got greedy. We bought a firm. And all of a sudden, now we're too big. We run out of good employees. We're trying to train new employees. They weren't really following. Everybody was doing things differently. And we hit white water. It was hard. I've never worked hard. I mean, I was working harder. I don't know if I was working harder. What was worse? That white water when we grew too much in these awkward teenagers, or in the very beginning when we had nothing. I think the white water was actually worse because the early struggle was, yeah, we didn't have any money and it was hard, but we knew we were making progress because I was one doing it. When you've got other people doing things and they're not all swimming together, it's frustrating. But then what I did, I stumbled across this idea of start to document my knowledge in Workpapers. And once I started to do that, I was able to bring brand new staff and bring them in and have them doing things beyond your wildest dreams. I had first years tying out AAA and retained earnings and shareholder basis all together. Now, did I train them on that? No. I embedded that workflow into my Workpapers. And my Workpapers guided my young staff to do it just as well as me. And that's all it took, was to actually take my head and put it into a workpaper. And then make the staff walk through my mental steps in that workpaper, which is exactly what I would do. But instead of training one person at a time, then forgetting and not remembering it, that workpaper is still there working. My brain is still working, even though I'm no longer at that firm. I'm still teaching new staff how to do stuff because my workpapers are there doing it. Okay. So what I mean by workpapers with embedded workflows. Okay. Well, right here, one of the things I did was I forced everybody to basically use tax grouping programs. Once we used tax grouping programs, then guess what? Everything was consistent year after year. It was a piece of cake. You didn't have to think about it. You just dropped it in, boom, spit it out, and you're good to go. Okay. I basically simplified and I created Workpapers for bank recs and sales tax. And then I also created, and this is the workpaper right here that tied out AAA retained earnings and shareholder basis. And it was year over year, a little complex, but guess what? It worked. You would not believe how many errors we caught and how many mistakes, my tax partner, how few times, it was already tied out. By the time he got to it, this one workpaper right here probably removed 30% of every review comment that he ever did. One workpaper. That is what I mean by embedding your workflow into Workpapers, and that creates predictable success. Okay. So the one I want to talk about today is the 1040 data grid. What we're going to do is we're going to systemize and we're going to embed workflow for the 1040 into one simple document with a simple workflow. Okay. And this is basically what it looks like. Right along here, you're going to have every document laid out in perfect order. You're going to have notes and stuff like this right here. Planning notes. Any other thing that you need to write down, let somebody know, you're going to be able to have a place to type it right up here. Every place you need to look is going to go right here. And then all the notes, year over year, notes that you want to basically carry for next year's prepare will be right there. Okay. It's all right there. Super, super simple. Okay. Because remember, kind of as Zig said, spend your time up front to save time later. That's what we're all doing. And the only way to do it is to slow down so you can speed up. If you keep doing what you're doing, guess what? Same thing for 40 years. You're not gonna, next year, it's gonna be like Groundhog Day. It's never gonna get any better. So you gotta stop. I was about to say stop, drop, and roll, but that's not it. You're gonna stop and you need to focus on taking what's in your head and putting it into a work paper. And it really doesn't take that long. It really, really doesn't, because once at the end, when you do this, it's gonna save time for you, which then allow you to do more. But it's also going to save time for next year's prepare, and it's going to save huge amounts of time for new staff. Okay. It's also going to provide for a better tax return. You would not believe these work papers on, you know how many errors I caught when I actually went back and took that one work paper and went back over my S corps. It caught so many errors. I mean, we were pretty good, but I would say at least 40% of every return had an error at least one of the years, because it's so easy to overlook an M1 or put it a perm, you know, an M1 in the perm instead of the temporary, and all of a sudden this stuff's out of whack. It's really easy to do that, even for somebody who's really, really experienced. But guess what? That work paper stopped that cold. Okay. So it actually provided for better returns with less qualified staff. Okay. Now, what is this format? Let's just kind of sit down for a second and say, where's this going to live? Where are these work papers going to live? Okay. It's not like documents. Okay. Think of a virtual filing cabinet. That's really what this is. We're going to the future by going back to the 80s. Okay. So everything that we're going to do here, just think back what we used to do. We'd print stuff out, we'd put it in the middle of folder, we'd put the middle folder in the in the expandable folder, and then, and put it in the drawer, and then we'd put it in the filing cabinet, right? That's all we're doing. Okay. So right here, so I'm going to be using OneNote, and right here, we've got a page. So this 1040 grid is just one big long page. It's like that thing was all connected, and you had to rip each thing across, just in one big long page of paper. So everything's going to be on that one really long sheet of paper. Okay, whether it's 2 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, doesn't matter. One long sheet of paper. Now, everything doesn't have to fit on this paper. There's always going to be exceptions. There's always exceptions. But most of it's going to, 80–90% of it's all going to be on this one sheet of paper. Okay. Then we're going to put that sheet of paper in a manila folder. So this section right here is just a manila folder. Okay, piece of paper in manila folder. That manila folder is in a drawer. This drawer B right here. Okay, so it's Brady is in the B drawer. And that drawer is in the filing cabinet with all my 1040s from A to L. That's all it is. Piece of paper in a manila folder, in a drawer, in a filing cabinet. That's it. And all this is a virtualization of what we used to do. We'd cut stuff out, we'd tape it on a sheet of paper, we'd take things from multiple places that all related to each other and put it all together. Instead of it on big 4 different documents. We're able to cut stuff out, tape. CPA, I think, used to stand for cut, paste, and assemble. Okay, but that's what we're going to do. Okay, put it all together. Okay, and if you have Microsoft 365, you already have OneNote. Okay, but don't worry, it also comes in Google flavor. Okay, I was working with somebody from Oregon just yesterday, where they went in and she was actually training a staff. She knew somebody that was a stay-at-home mom that just wanted a little bit of work. So she was training this person, and we got them up and running in less than an hour, where they basically took this grid, took the information from Lisio, opened it up, screen clipped it, and dropped it in. And then, so that's what she's going to have that person do nothing but just take the information and drop it right into the grid. Then she's going to hire somebody to go through and just to enter it straight off the grid into the tax software, and then she's going to review it. She is delegating everything downstream. She's so excited. She's really looking forward to this tax season. Okay. But we've also got this in Google. You can do the same thing in Google if you prefer to do that. And don't worry, at the end of the day, we're going to show you where you can basically go to the Grove and basically learn how to do all these things step by step. Okay?
Yeah, and I wanted just to chime in here for a second, because people might be thinking, oh, this looks really complicated. How do I build the grid? And it's really just a magic trick, isn't it? It's just a table, isn't it?
Yeah. It really
literally just a table inserted into OneNote. And so I want everyone to relax, because I know in prior webinars, people have been like, oh, this looks super complicated. How am I going to build that? Do I have to program it? No, you don't.
No, I mean, honestly, what's funny, every function to build these things, you're already doing.
Yeah.
Cut, copy, and paste.
Yep.
Build a simple table.
Insert a table. Insert a line. Yeah, exactly.
It's easier than buying some program that does everything. This is easier to get up and running. I got somebody up and running on March 16th. On March 16th, he bought.
That was Lloyd, wasn't it? I spoke with him.
Yep, he bought 365. He was up and running. He did 100 tax returns through tax season. Okay. For some reason, to be 100%, for some reason, Microsoft's giving him some crap, and he's just. But I think this is, I don't know. So there's life's not always perfect, but he was up and running using this technique on March 16th.
Mhm.
It was amazing. Okay, so you can do this. So let's go in there and actually take a
Yeah,
look.
just one super quick question though before you move on. Peter had a question. He was wondering if you can use it for other tax forms. So the 1065 or the 1120.
Oh,
You can, right? It's just you just adjust the process slightly, right?
yeah, no, basically, honestly, this theory of what I'm doing can be done for any process, bank reconciliations, sales tax, everything like this. I was talking to somebody from Cincinnati, and she went in and she, because I think tax people sometimes actually provide better work papers than auditors, because it's like you're documenting every item on your balance sheet. So what she did was she went in there and created a grid for every work paper, the bank reconciliation grid, the AR, boom, 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 right down the list, and did the same thing for a corporate tax return. And she proved out her balance sheet, everything right there or linked to it. So you're able to just walk down and just see everything right there. And here's the thing, you don't need some fancy expensive software like Caseware to do this. Everything that I'm showing you is tools you already have. And it's easier to build because guess what? It's 100% customizable for anything that you want. You can tweak it. So that's what's great. You are going to be able to create your own customized workflow with free software that's 1,000% more customizable than anything out there already. Okay? Then that's the truth. So here's really the flow. Here's the workflow that we're going to do for the 1040 here. But once again, you can do it for anything. Bookkeeping, all of this, anything. Okay. You can even take some of these processes to your clients and help them with their processes, and they'll start turning this into consulting revenue once you learn this theory. Okay. But here's the process for 1040s. First, you're going to capture all the information, put it in one funnel. Okay. Pick your funnel. I'm going to show you Lisio, but pick your funnel. Again, whether it comes from the client or the firm, any piece of information, any document is all going to sit into this thing that I'm going to call the information queue. Okay. Step one. Step two, you're going to have somebody come by, hopefully push that down to the lowest staff, the most junior staff possible. Okay, even somebody that comes in just as a part-time, that's type A personality. You're going to have them come in, they're going to open up each item, they're going to screen clip it, and they're going to link it to the source. That's optional, but it's real easy just to link it to the source too. So they're going to cut out everything and then link it back to the original source. Okay, that's step two. Step three, you're going to go in and prepare the return. Everything's laid out. You're going to have a place to put notes. It's going to be right there. You're going to be able to use color coding. I was talking to somebody that was basically doing their extensions this way. And what they said, it was great because they had started return, stepped away for 3 days, came back, and immediately hit the ground running because they knew exactly where they were. Because they've been color coding everything. And they knew exactly where they were. They were able to put it down and come back 3 days later and just not miss a beat. That's what this process can do for you. And then lastly, everything's laid out in a perfect order for you to review. And guess what? You now have a place to take what's in your head and put it there for next year's preparer or next year's reviewer. Okay. And that's what it's all about. So this process right here is doing the 3 steps that I talked about. Okay. So let's talk about it. So before we actually go into the more specific details right here, let's just show you what I'm talking about here. Okay. Let's just actually kind of pull the curtains back and actually show you that I'm not actually just, let's actually just take a look at it. So this right here is a completed 1040 grid. Okay. So right up here, we have planning notes. We've got a place for carryover. We've got a place for prepared notes. Okay. And guess what? Things are linked to different stuff. Okay. So here's some notes. Here's a link to some handwritten notes that I took. If I click on this hyperlink, guess what? It links me to these handwritten notes right here. Okay, one click away, boom, it took me to the client's handwritten notes right there. Okay, here was some missing information. Okay, where are you keeping track of what's missing? And have you contacted the client? Have you not contacted the client? Where are we at with that? You know how much time you spend managing information between your staff and the client yourself? All of a sudden, did we ask the client or did they answer? I hated, I hated delegating to new staff. Because for years I was doing it and I knew it, and I wouldn't ask dumb questions. But then all of a sudden you delegate to someone. And I actually had one partner that would not delegate his friends or his clients to anybody because he was afraid of staff members making mistakes. And he was so embarrassed that somebody made a mistake. So he just did everything. Really slowed him down. Okay. But I can't tell you how many times I had to eat crow when my staff did something because they didn't know. They should have known, but they didn't know. And that happens. But it was embarrassing. Or even something simple of like, I'd talk to the client and say, hey, have you gotten that closing statement in yet? It's like, oh yeah, I gave that to so-and-so 3 days ago. I look like even though it's not bad, but it was embarrassing. Okay. I didn't want that. I wanted to be kept in the loop. And with this one right here, you're just one click away from every item. So, right here, people are going in there, they're emailing the client inside here. Because once again, you need one funnel for all communications between your clients. So right here, we can link right to the question that we asked the client. Say, hey, Mike, what's your moving expenses? We need your moving expenses. I can come right in here, see that he answered. Did he not answer? I can back respond. So it's all in one spot, one click away. How about that? And then I can come down here and then, that's the top area right up here. Okay. Then we've got every item that we need clipped out with exactly what we need. And some of these are a little blurry because it's not that I'm trying to basically get this example data. Okay. But all this information is just sitting right here, just in exact order, line by line, side by side. And what's really cool about this stuff is you'll see some information, like this was on the handwritten notes right there. And this was the 1098. Or I'm sorry, the 1098. Yeah, the 1098 right there. These were on two completely separate documents in my list of PDFs that weren't even close to each other. Okay. So before I had to go up, look up here, and then I had to scroll all the way back down there. Maybe I hyperlinked or not, but I'm still going back and forth and back and forth. And now I can actually just see everything right here. Okay. And what's really cool is if you basically turn this monitor vertical, you can have the whole thing. You can see like this much information all at once. It's actually using this work paper vertically on a vertical monitor is really, really cool because you can see so much at once. And you're going to put 90% of the documents right here because most of them are pretty simple. You're going to put, the sketch, the dividend statement right there. Okay. And then this right here is what I was talking about. This is where you're going to be able to dump what's in your head and drop it right here. You're going to put maybe the bank's name. You're going to put where you enter it. You're going to put relevant information. Maybe there's some tax. Maybe I had to look up something on how to handle something from a tax point of view. Well, guess what? I'm going to put that information here. And if I've actually got a bunch of notes, I could actually link to that tax research sitting in my tax research notebook right there. So next year, okay, because chances are if I had to look it up, my staff's going to have to look it up. And I want my staff to know that. But I could just put that information that I learned and just come right over here and just type it. Right here, I can just go in and just type that information right there. So here's the thing. Accountants love to work hard. They must love really, really, really working hard. Okay, because they just always like to start from ground zero and do it themselves and just, instead of building on prior knowledge. Okay, science builds upon science. That's how they can get to where all of a sudden now they're doing all this crazy stuff. We're still at debits equal credits because every year we're ripping down what we've learned and having the new stuff come in and have the new staff learn it from scratch instead of building upon each other's knowledge, and including yourself, because I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I could remember things. Nowadays, maybe not so much. Okay, so whether it's where do you enter this? How do I deal with the tax law? Or in some cases, sometimes you get a form that's got some random thing on it. I mean, there's some forms like, for example, our unemployment. Okay, the state, basically said that the unemployment was for free, so people weren't, withholding on the state. Okay, but this one had withholding on it. So 90% of the forms, the unemployment forms didn't have state withholding, but one did, and it was really easy to overlook. So we made a note. Hey, for this one right here, make sure you don't miss that. So whether it's a uniqueness about that particular form, whether it's how to enter it, or whether it's tax law, this information is going to sit right here. Guess what? Instead of being and getting thrown away or sitting in last year's folder for last year's work papers, this is going to turn into a side-by-side work paper. So this right here is the first year, but wait until year 2, because all you're going to do is to roll this over, insert to the left, pull this out like that, pull it out, just widen it right there, and then take this and then widen that just like that. And now you've got side-by-side work papers. You're going to come in and put, this is 2022, this will be 2023 right here. Boom, 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 boom. And then this is what it'll end up looking like. Let me see right here, something like this. And you're going to be able to see the prior comments right there. You're going to be able to compare form to form. You're going to see what's new. Okay, you're going to see if you're missing something. Well, guess what? I'm missing this because it's obvious that we had it last year. And here's my question right here and linking me to the question to the client to see if we had it. Try doing that in your current system. Okay, everything is right here. We can also see if there's variances. Wow, last year was really, really high. This year it's a lot smaller. Oh, that's why. It's obvious the difference. You can compare the two side by side, just like that. Okay, so how does this actually work? Okay, well, what I'm going to do here is I've actually just copied the template right here. So this is basically what you're going to start with. Okay, it's really, really this simple.
And Rob, we've had some questions about the template. We're going to make that link available in this webinar, right? Do you have the link for people to download?
Oh yeah, basically, well, I don't have it. I don't have this particular link, but what I'll do is you will be able to go into the Grove, the 2-minute. There's a course called the 2-minute tax review. It's got step-by-step videos on exactly what I'm doing, and it links you to this form.
Great.
So yeah. So you're going to get everything.
And the other thing is, people want a copy of your deck. So I said we'd send that out with the recording tomorrow. Just so everybody understands. Yeah.
And but what you're going to really want to do is go into the Grove. It's going to be a free course. Okay. Yep. It's going to walk you step by step how to download this template, how to bring it into your system, how to roll it out to your firm, and from the person who's assembling the documents into the grid, from the preparer, from the reviewer, to rolling it over for next year. Everything you're going to need is step by step, right down the list. Yeah. Okay. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to come in here. Okay. And one of the first things you're going to want to do is you see these little hyperlinks right up here.
Yeah. And Daniel was just asking about that, literally just asking, how do you insert the hyperlinks? Okay. So I'm glad that we're going to answer that.
Yep. Nope. It's super, super simple. So basically what you're going to do is you can think about it. Okay. I was really, I kept hearing about carpal tunnel and everything like this. I'm like, man, the amount of, all I do is move the mouse around all day long. Like, I'm going to get carpal tunnel. But as I'm getting older and things start to break, I have not really had a problem with that because I don't do a lot of clicking. I browse out to a place once, I capture the URL, and then I link to it from that. I have probably done 50% less clicks than anybody else, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to, like, this one right here is my Lisio information queue. I want this to link me right here to, because right now, if I were to come into my, to a program, whether it's a CRM or whatever, okay, here's what you're doing. You're probably 6, 7, 8 clicks in. I'm going to come into here. I'm going to click on accounts. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to type all this. I'm going to find the account. I'm going to click right here. Now you're doing that for any program, QuickBooks, online, everything like this. It's 6 or 7, 8 clicks to get here. So here's my destination right here, the Files tab. This is my information queue. Everything I need to do the return is sitting right here for me to work on. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, the information queue. Every piece of information is sitting right here.
Yeah, and for folks that are not using Lisio, what Rob is showing is where all of the files go when the client uploads them, or when a team member puts a file in there. Yep. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, for those of you that are struggling with staff leaving, giving your clients Lisio instead of a text to communicate with you will mean that not only will you have all the information for the team to look at, in one place, like a collaborative environment. But if a staff person leaves, they're not going to leave your firm. The client won't leave your firm because the relationship is with the firm and not with the staff person and their cell phone. So you want to be thinking about if you're using cell phones, and you're texting, your clients are texting your staff, that's something you really want to watch out for. That's very, very important.
Yep.
So I just wanted to mention it because I thought that was like really relevant at this point when you're showing the what you're calling the information queue or the capture bucket.
Yeah, so this right here is every piece of information I need is going to end up right here, whether it's from the client, whether it's if it's something that I see on my screen that I need to save, I screen clip it, I print it as a PDF into the dispatch, and it shows up here. Boom. So every piece of information right here, it just showed up right here. So this is a destination. This took me 8 or 9 o'clock. So all I'm doing in this case, okay, is going to copy this URL, because this, if you look at the URL, there's a number here. There's this right here is the account, and that's the tab. So right there, this is all, the exact address I need to get back to this place right here. So I'm going to do is copy it. I'm going to come right over to here. I'm going to highlight it, right click, and then hit link, and then paste the link in. There we go. So it took me less than about 3 or 4 seconds to create the link, but now, from now on, the rest of my life, you got to be logged into Liscio, but I just click this and boom, it took me right to where I needed to go. I'm going to do the same thing here with Teams. I've got them in the Teams channel. I've got this in the Microsoft list where I'm tracking the 1040. I'm going to browse out to the real estate taxes, go to the county website, type in their address, find it. Once I do that once, I'm going to link it right here. I'm going to link this to an Excel file sitting in SharePoint. So every place I need to go for this client is going to be up 1 click away. Think of how much time that's going to save you, a preparer. Think how easy that is to delegate. Imagine telling a brand new staff, or even me, or somebody in this room, we all know how to do taxes, but how long would it take you to teach me where all your stuff is? I know how to do taxes, but it's still going to take me quite a while to learn your system. But if you were to come into my system, all I'm going to do is say, hey, click the link. There you go. And I don't even have to tell you that, because chances are you'll see this and you'll just click it and go, oh my gosh, there we go. That's what I need. Okay. So then what you're going to do is you're going to click on the link. Okay. In this case right here, I've already started getting some stuff for 2022. I've already got stuff tagged for 2022. So I want to ignore that for right now. Okay. So I'm going to come in and just filter on the year here and say, you know what, just show me 2021. Because we're still working on 2021. I know we're late, but that's just the way it is. Mike was busy, with all his, I think with like on his Hawaiian trip with the Tiki title or the Tiki Isle. But what you're going to do is you're going to come into each item. Okay. And you're going to open it up. Now, if you're using Edge, what's really cool about Edge is you can actually come in here and actually highlight directly in Edge right on the PDF. Okay. So that's really, really nice. Okay. So normally I would have this much larger so you can kind of see it, but I'm trying to minimize so you guys can see this on the screen here. But normally this would be on one screen and then I have this on the other screen so I can just go back and forth. But basically all I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in here, and this is my 1099-R. All I'm going to do is go down to my 1099-R. Well, right here's my 1099-R. Type that in. If I need to add a new one, I can just come in and say, add a new one and copy it up just like that. So it's that simple to add stuff. But then all I do is come into this box right here. I click the screen clipping right here, which is on my QAT, Quick Access Toolbar. Click this, minimizes OneNote, and then all I do is left click this, snag just what I want, no more, no less. And I drop it right into the grid, and I can expand it or decrease it right there. So now I've got everything sitting just like that. And then I come back over to here. Now I could come in and tag it and do some other stuff, but right now for simplicity's sake, the only thing you really, really have to do is come in and archive it. Okay, but before I do that, let's assume that even though this is a pretty simple form, there's not a lot there. There's not a lot else to look at. But what you could do, if there's more than real simple, and once again, your firm will determine on what you want to do. But if I wanted to come back to this form in just one click, I could copy link, come right back into here, and then paste that link right there. So now, I'm going to archive this. That means I'm done. So now when I come back to my grid here, guess what? It's not going to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire a part-time person they're going to come in and start to just look at every item that comes in. Guess what? Guess when they're going to start doing this? They're going to start doing this in January. Okay, as soon as the documents start to roll in, I'm going to have a part-time person who's, just wants some part-time work, come in, open them up, cut them out virtually, and drop them in the grid, and go through every single item, and build my work paper as it's going. Okay, so what's that doing? That's pushing time out of March and April and pushing it back into January and February. It's flattening out the time season or tax season. Okay, you don't have to wait to get started, because guess what? This system is going to allow you to know exactly what's been entered. You can see that it's right there. If it's the wrong year, guess what? I'm going to instruct my staff. Send the client immediately and say, hey, you gave me last year, I need this year. And oh, by the way, here's what last year looked like. Please send me the new one. And there'll be a little link right here that says, oh, they sent the wrong one, and with a link back to that little communication piece. Okay, so all they're going to do is come in, walk right down the list, open up the next one, W4, right here. Okay, I don't need all four, right? I don't need all four. Okay, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to go up to W2, click right there, screen clip. So all I'm doing is screen clipping. That's the only technology that you need, screen clipping. And then you saw how easy it was to add a hyperlink. So then I want to basically link back to this one, copy link, come right over here. Works much better on two, and it's the link right there. So now I can close this, come right over here. So I'm not even in the client anymore. I want to come over here. If I want to look at it for some reason, guess what? One click away. One click. Boom. There we go. So you're going to have staff just come in and lay everything out just like this. Once everything's laid out, they're going to come in. Let's just leave this real quick. You're going to have them come in, and then you're going to have the staff preparing everything. And as they're preparing stuff, guess what you're going to do? You're just going to have them come in here, and as they prepare it, just have them mark it blue. So they just kind of go through and just mark stuff blue as they do it. And then all of a sudden the phone rings, or they step away. Okay, and we come back. Guess what? Oh, that's where I left off. I'll just continue down. Now let's say they had an issue with something. They had a question. Well, guess what? You're going to go in, and your firm's going to have a legend that determines what things mean. So in this case, right, I'm going to put yellow. That means that's a question I got to ask the partner. And guess what? Allison's the partner on this one. She's the reviewer. She's going to be able to come in here and just take a look and see where I'm at. I mean, think about this. I mean, Allison, could you imagine coming in here and saying, by looking at this right here, you can see exactly where I'm at in the return. I've got these entered. You can come in here, and if you remember something about one of this, you can put a little note right here to remind me. You're going to come in there and say, hey, I saw that you had a question on that one right there. What's the question? You can come in and see exactly where I'm at and stay up to date immediately with just some simple colors. And then when Allison comes through, what she'll do is as she reviews each one, now this, she can come through and just mark stuff green. And if there's an error, mark it red. So that's basically the process. You have a grid. You have a junior staff drop information right into the grid. You link back to the original source document, optional. The preparer comes in, goes right down the lists, enters the stuff, puts notes right here if they learn anything. If you learn anything about the client, if you learn anything about if you have to learn something about the form itself, tax law, or how to enter it, you enter it right here for next year's preparer. You make it, you're clearing a path. It's the Oregon Trail. First one goes through is tough. The second one should be easier. The third year, this should be a piece of cake. Okay. And I actually had a client would say, hey, each year it's easier to do my return, so shouldn't you charge me less each year? And I responded back by saying, well, you're doing your job for the third year, so should you take less salary because your job's years easier now that you had to do it? And that kind of shut her up. But that's, so everything's laid out. And then for review, you just come right down the list and basically go right through it. Okay, does anybody have any questions on the process? It's really, really that simple.
We've got some questions about security, Rob. So Kelly's asking, where does the grid live? Like, how secure is it? And then Elena is asking, oh, let's answer Kelly's question first, and then we'll go to Elena's.
Okay, so basically, this grid right here is living in a OneNote file. Okay, OneNote is stored in SharePoint. You have Excel files and Word documents sitting in SharePoint. So they're both sitting in SharePoint.
Yes,
so,
the 365 suite. So it's secure for your team.
Yep.
And I think the only thing you have to be concerned about is just really good password
Yep.
hygiene. Just like don't use the same password for multiple sites.
Yep.
Be really good
so
there.
Basically, it's OneNote is as secure as your Excel files. And now, if you want, let's say you got a client here that, let's say Mike Brady. Let's say we were once doing a politician's tax return. We didn't want all staff to get into it. I could come in here, right click, and then say password protect this section, which would password protect Mike's section right there. So you can even put another layer of protection inside here just to keep your normal staff out.
Yeah. Now, Elena has a question. She's asking, do you have a portal for the clients to upload documents, or do they send the documents by email? No. Well, you could. We don't recommend that. And how's the portal working for you? Rob, do you want to go ahead and comment on that? Because that's really where Lisio comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, no, basically when I was talking about the capture, once again, you need a funnel to capture all information. Okay. I'm using Lisio in the demo. But basically with Lisio, you've got two ways to basically enter information. They can go online and basically upload it through the Lisio website, and it comes directly in as a PDF, and it basically sits in that files tab or the information queue. But what we really recommend is that you teach your clients to get them to download the Lisio app on their phone. And here's why. Because if you do that, when you sit there and send them a message, not a text, not an email, they're going to sit there and get a ding on their phone. They're going to get notifications right there on your phone saying, hey, I need this 1099 to finish your return. When they see that and it's on their phone, they're like, oh, you get their attention. It's not being buried. It's not there. You're getting their attention. And then they're like, oh, okay. Then they push the button and then they pull out, they say, oh, there's the form. And then they put the form down. They take a picture of it. The picture scans it and turns it into a PDF and drops it right into the information queue. And then it comes into there, you open it up, you screen clip it, you drop it on the grid, and you're done. It's that you're getting their attention, it's secure, it's all in one place. Everybody, Allison can see that I sent the message. So if she's wondering if I sent the message, she's going to be able to see it because all communication, all documents is in our one funnel, our one basically big pipe between us and the client. Okay, whether it's documents, communications, everything, tasks, everything, it's all in one place. So everybody in our firm can see it, see what's going on. Allison's in the loop. She can see that I've asked it. Okay. And when she's talking to the client, she can look in there and go, oh yeah, we're still missing that. Did you get that to us? Oh yeah, want me to do it? We'll move a picture there. But that's the key. So kind of what I was talking about before. That's really what it is. Capture everything into one place. Systematically open up each document once. Extract the information from that document, drop it exactly where it goes, and throw the box away. We're not throwing the box away, we're just archiving it, we're taking it out of sight.
Yeah, and one thing you didn't show, Rob, was that you could use this for taking like screenshots of like your clients can also like send you documents using the scanner and everything, but you can also screenshot and screen clip their conversation or their handwritten notes or have you. So it brings it really all into one place.
Yeah, no, this screen clipping, yes, not only are we doing the documents, but let's say the client sends you an email.
You can take the relevant stuff out of that. Yep.
Just screen clip the information right out of the email and drop it right in there. Let's say you're looking at tax research. Let's say you open up the tax book, okay? And you're looking at the tax research right there in the tax book. You can screen clip the information and drop it right here in the grid. But guess what? It's not, because what are you doing now? You're printing out to a PDF. That piece of information is sitting in a document buried in some folder that nobody ever looks at again.
Yeah.
All this information is buried. We have so much gold buried in our folders and our directories. It's crazy. let's liberate the information out of the documents, put it where everybody can use it, that it's going to carry over year to year, and then basically go from there. So real quick, let's kind of, what I did today was I didn't go through the slides as much, but basically what I'll do is I'll send you these slides. These slides are very practical, but really, this is really the benefits of what the grid basically does for you, okay? First of all, instead of it being in the client's order, you're gonna be able to go in and cut all the different pieces up and put it in the order that you want by screen clipping it, okay? That's all it is, screen clip, that's it. Simple screen clip, copy, and paste. You're gonna be able to match related documents. So your Schedule A, this piece of information right here is gonna be right next to this, okay? Whether it's up, vertical or horizontal, this information relates to this. So you're gonna be able to match related information that are basically normally in two different PDFs, okay? It's really, really nice to have everything right there, okay? You're gonna have one Grand Central Station. You come here, and then from there, everything is one place or one click away. It's like your Grand Central Station, everything you need about this client and this return is right there in one place, okay? Whether it's hyperlinks, I can't tell you, I almost never use File Explorer because I'm just linking everything. And any information that doesn't have a place to go, you're going to be able to customize this and make this your own, okay? Consistency. We use forms for a reason, okay? Right now, everybody's probably doing things differently. This is going to create consistency amongst your forms, okay? So you want consistent, okay? Current status. It's very easy to know and be able to, it was amazing that this gentleman went in there and he said that. And he's like, yes, I set it down. And I came back 3 days later and I was able to basically just pick it up right where I left off it. And when I showed that to Allison, she got a really big grade because that's exactly it. And I didn't really taught him this part yet. He just did it on his own. And it was so natural for him to do that. It was amazing. It really was cool. Side-by-side work papers. There's no way you're going to be able to have side-by-side work papers this way. Okay. I'm not a bet man, but try to find something better and easier than this. You can't find it. Okay. It's just everything is right there side by side. Okay. It's just brilliant. It's right there side by side. Okay. And you don't have to view everything. Okay. Guess what? You're only going to view the stuff you need to view. Okay, you're going to get rid of all the other stuff. Okay. But if you want to hyperlink back to it, you're only a hyperlink away. Once again, you're going to touch each document once and only once. You're going to open up the PDF. And so here's what you're doing now. This is what we've been doing for 40 years. Open, close, open, close. Open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, right? That's what we do all the time. But guess what we're going to do now? We're going to open it one last time, extract the information, drop it right where it needs to be, and never open the document again. That's it, one time. Okay. And guess what? For you paper lovers, for you people who like, destroying trees, I'm just kidding about that. But if you want something on paper, printing this out was normally 30 pages or 40 pages. By cutting this out right here, having everything linked right here, you can print this off, write on it, take your notes, and then scan it back up. Or when we're rolling over for next year, you're going to print this to a PDF because you got a solid copy of last year's work papers. Okay, so you can print this
and print it to PDF and use Lisio Dispatch and pop it into Lisio.
And give it to your client. So next year, when you're sitting there saying, here's what I need. Oh, by the way, here's everything you gave me last year. So they have a visual picture of everything you gave them on 4 sheets of paper. That's going to beat some sort of checklist, isn't it? It's just there. So instead of this, you get this. I don't know about you, but if you like working hard, keep doing this. But if you're lazy like me, do this. Okay. And that's really the 9 benefits of the data summary grid.
Rob, that was amazing. We are almost out of time. We have a couple of minutes if there's any last minute questions. But I think the beauty of this, it works really whatever system you're using. It just works better if you're using Lisio.
Yep.
And there were a few questions about Lisio. How do I find out? I put the demo in the demo link in the chat. But regardless of what you decide to do, make sure that you do join the Grove, because if you're not a member of the Grove already,
speaking of the Grove,
it's thegrove.thinkific.com.
Yeah, basically, when I go through there and give you all this other stuff, I've got some other stuff in here that talks about a bunch of other benefits that I want you thinking about. But basically, right here, let's just go through here. Okay, so this right here is the
I don't
Grove.
think you're sharing. You're not sharing.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so right here, so this right here, so what you're gonna do is everybody right now just go go into the grove.thinkific.com right there. Go to the grove.thinkific.com. You're going to come in here and you're going to see Allison's face, and she's going to have a lovely video welcoming you into the Grove. Okay. And then down below, you're going to be able to click on the courses. Now, right now, we have a number of courses that are going to be step-by-step. We've got a handful of courses in there right now, but we are going to be adding them every single week. There's going to be a new course. And
yeah, we've got an aggressive rollout schedule, and it's not, I would say about 95% of the stuff is actually not related to Lisio at all. It's
OneNote, Microsoft, sales, like
QBO hacks. We've got an onboarding class by Katie Maddox. We've got sales and marketing videos by Michelle Weinstein. We're just rolling out and adding and adding and adding. So do keep checking back. And then the community, you can see up to the top, to the right there, there's a little link called community. Click on that, and that's where you can ask and answer questions.
Yep.
So, and Rob is in it, we're all in it, and you can ask questions and contribute your own content as well.
And then for here, if you want to see everything to like right here, here's all these videos right down here. They're going to walk you through area by area, step by step, so you can implement exactly what I showed you. And this can be done in a day. You can get this up and running. And here's my thing. Do it for one tax return. Just do it for one tax return. And you'll be like, this is pretty easy. Okay.
This is easy.
And then all you got to do is come into here, enroll for the class. It's free. It'll sign you up. And then you'll be able to basically just, and then go in there and learn from other stuff. Even if it's in this class, there's going to be, I guarantee you, you will learn something, and then share it with your staff. Make your staff smarter too, because this is for accountants by accountants.
Yeah. All right, everybody, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. The next steps are we will send out the recording and the PDF of the PowerPoint deck too. You should probably get that tomorrow. And please do join us in the Grove. And thank you, everyone, for your time and attention today. Thanks, Rob. Bye-bye.